Welcome to SUSD Spotlight, your go-to source for all things happening within the district. Whether it's celebrating student and staff achievements, delving into trending education topics, or highlighting inspiring human interest stories, we've got you covered. Join us as we illuminate the incredible endeavors taking place in our schools and forge connections within our community. Get ready to be informed, inspired, and engaged as we embark on this journey together, spotlighting the extraordinary in SUSD. Well, welcome to another edition of SUSD Spotlight. Today we are excited to welcome in studio some guests from Desert Mountain High School. Desert Mountain is celebrating its 30th year of serving students in Scottsdale Unified School District. I'd like to invite my guests to introduce themselves, starting with Principal Andrews.
Thank you, Dr. Menzel. My name is John Andrews, and I am the principal of Desert Mountain High School.
Thank you.
It's great to be here. I'm Paul Wimmer, and I've been at Desert Mountain for 24 years and teach AP, IB, and a World War II Vietnam elective.
Thank you, Paul.
And my name is Kevin Shea. I am the MYP International Baccalaureate Coordinator here at Desert Mountain, and I've been teaching for 17 years, IB Lit.
So it's really exciting to think about all of the things that happen at Desert Mountain High School, but I'm not sure all of our listeners know the broad array of educational options that students have. So maybe you can start by kind of giving us the broad brush, and then we'll drill down a little bit more in terms of the details.
I'm happy to do that. So Desert Mountain High School is a school of approximately anywhere between 1,900 and 2,000 students. We have a wide variety of classes to choose from, including International Baccalaureate, advanced placement, and then just a whole host of elective choices as well. One thing that I love about Desert Mountain is that we have sports at a really high level, Class 5A. We also have arts, performing arts, fine arts. So there's a number of things that students can get involved in. And actually today we had a wonderful event to welcome our future Wolves to a pep rally to kind of introduce them to all of those different things that we have that are great at Desert Mountain.
So talking about IB, Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about what opportunities are available for students both in the middle years program and the diploma program, and even what the difference between the two is?
Well, with IB, I could probably better show you and talk about what they do than tell you about it. Our students, my seniors one year came up to me and they said, we just have a lot on our minds. Can we just do TED Talks to each other? And I said, yeah, I guess. So they organized this entire event. 17 of them got on the auditorium and gave each other TED Talks. That was about 9 years ago. We've been doing that every year ever since. That's called Project Captivate. And TED Talks for students by students. The year before COVID, Megan Yarnell and a bunch of seniors came up and said, we should have our own dance. Can we have an IB dance? And it's like, yeah. And there's a lot of roadblocks to it, and they did it all, and we've been having an IB dance every year. What IB is all about, from freshman to sophomore, which is the MYP program, to junior senior, which is the IB program. People call it a rigorous inquiry-based program that's college preparatory. Yeah, it's that. But really, it's more about community. I was talking to John earlier about conversation I had with a parent, and parents, does it really account for what's important for students? And I said, yeah, it's about belonging. I mean, if you think about students who are all searching for their identity, in IB they're going to belong. It's more like a family than I've ever experienced, except for my own family. So
I recall visiting your class one time, and you mentioned that you haven't given a Scantron or fill in the blank kind of test in some time, right? Kids are...
Well, ever. Since I've been teaching IB.
Ever, okay. So because kids are asked to what? To write? Or what is the difference sort of in this kind of environment as opposed to another classroom maybe?
Well, with inquiry-based, it's more how to know, not what to know. And of course, these are broad. I know amazing teachers who are AP, and AP is more content based. It's where you kind of will learn, and you will just through some Scantron, the multiple choice. This is what you learn, and you move on. We do a lot of Socratic, where we will study a book. And I facilitate. I break up the book into different, and the students lead the Socratic discussion. They're graded on how well they lead, how well they discuss. I usually will make them, or they get to, I should say, write an imitation, a pastiche of whatever author. We're reading Truman Capote's In Cold Blood right now. And then there's some written analysis, but they feel in charge of their learning, so they tend to do much better. And it's like this in every other discipline. It looks differently, and I think that's what attracts people to IB.
So I'm always impressed when I hear the students at Desert Mountain High School, but I wonder, Paul, you've been there nearly a quarter of a century, which may seem like it's gone by quickly, may not, but what's the same and what's different from when you started at Desert Mountain to today?
That's a really good question. Haven't been there, 24 years, 20 years in IB. I live in the community too. So I see, the kids in the community, and I see what's going on in the community. We've had great leaders as principals and administration. I think the kids are pretty much the same. Very driven, motivated. It's a great place to be. I guess the best way to define Desert Mountain when people ask me is that it has something for everyone, for every student.
Right.
So I've never wanted to leave. I think when I will leave is when I decide to retire. I just think it has so much, and John kind of alluded to, all the different things that Desert Mountain brings to all these students. And I always tell my students every year, first day of class, get involved in one thing, because there's so much there that you can get involved in, whether it's a club or a sport or, arts or choir or whatever that may be. Find one thing or more that you can get involved in. And I just think I've been so happy there. I just have never wanted to go anywhere else. And I think it's kind of maintained it's everything that I've kind of talked about over these 24 years. And it's just been a great place for me. And I know for a lot of alumni, and I know a lot of kids that have, obviously graduated and gone on to, to other things. And they always talk about how, what a good place Desert Mountain was. So that's, I guess, how I would respond to that.
Well, I've heard from students who talk about how prepared they felt with respect to their college expectations once they got there, and how unprepared many of their college classmates were. And so it really is a testament to the quality of the instruction that's happening on the campus.
Yeah, I would just add to what Kevin said about IB. So I see a lot of kids after they graduate about IB, and they said, going from the IB program to college was like seamless. Right. And especially the writing aspect, IB kids become such great writers by the time they leave. And college is a lot of writing, of course, and obviously other things, but a lot of really good things to say about the IB program. And that, it is rigorous and it's a tough program, but it really pays off, once they go to college and beyond.
I've often heard from families too talk about, Desert Mountain looks big from the curb, and it is big. It's a large building for sure, and a large student body. But you talk about a sense of belonging, and you talk about all the different niches that are available to kids. Is that how you make it feel like a smaller community, a school within a school almost?
Definitely, I think it is. You mentioned family. It is a big structure of a building, but it is also beautiful. So when we bring families on for tours, they're always struck with how different Desert Mountain looks than other schools that they may tour. It's just the facilities are just different up there. But when they get in and they start to connect they can make a big place that feels big automatically smaller by being a part of the IB program. One of the best things you can do as a principal is hire great teachers. And these guys, although I didn't hire these guys, they're amazing, and I would hire them again in a second. I'm so blessed as a principal to have them. And so they get to work with amazing teachers who automatically connect with them, and that makes the school feel smaller as well. And then they join clubs. Like today at the Future Wolves Pep Assembly, we had our pom, we had our cheer, we had our band and our dance, we had our captains of our football teams, we had our student government. We had all these different things that automatically take Desert Mountain and make it feel like a home. And then you alluded to how IB itself is a school within a school, kind of a family as well. So it's a place that people, when they walk up to it, they go, oh, wow. This is kind of maybe intimidating, but when they come in and then they start meeting people, we pride ourselves on being very warm and welcoming. And if you want a tour, we have tours that we schedule like twice a month. But if anybody calls and it doesn't work, we'll give you a tour, we'll make it work, and we'll do it one-on-one. So we want to make sure that people feel like Desert Mountain is the choice for them. That there's a lot of choices in our school area. We're sitting right in the middle of a lot of different choices, but I think we want to have people go, this is the choice, this is where we want to be. And I think we've been able to do that. Our enrollment has been going pretty
you're moving in the
strong.
right direction.
We're moving in the right direction, yeah.
I was curious too, because in the learning community with Mountainside having the middle years program, but then now Anasazi having the primary years program, I wonder how that might influence what the IB diploma program looks like in the long run. Do you anticipate growth?
Yeah, that is definitely a hope. I'm really glad that we have our PYP and then the MYP and this continuum K-12 all the way to us. So I think we'll start to see the fruits of that, because that has just kind of come online or on board just recently. So I do think that that's something that, as the community of students and families that are going through Anasazi and going through Mountainside and seeing the benefits of IB, will select Desert Mountain. I do have to say, being the principal of a whole school and not just IB, I have a ton of students that will go through IB and then they'll decide, you know what, I don't want to take on the whole enchilada, if you will, of the IB program, and I want to do maybe the a la carte menu, and I'll take a class here, a class there of AP. And that's also what is really sets us apart, I think, as a school, is that you can come and be a part of IB, but you can also, I think you mentioned this too, is like you can find your place if IB ends up not being the thing that you decide you want to do. So there's not that pressure that, oh my God, I'm locked into IB. IB's wonderful, and for those students that do it, it is the best thing, but for others, they do something else, and that's fine. And so being a principal of a school, I see all of the students, and they're all doing great things no matter which path they decide to take.
So you're not new to Desert Mountain because you were an assistant principal, but it is your first year as the principal of the building. So what's been the biggest surprise as you stepped into that role this year?
Gosh, and that's kind of a loaded question. Being a principal, It has been wonderful being the principal, and I think that the biggest surprise would be how much fun I'm having. I thought it would be, like looking at it from being the assistant principal, that it would be something that there's certainly moments, don't get me wrong, but I think I'm having more fun being the principal because I'm not just working with this group of students, I'm working with all of the students. I'm a former special education teacher, and some of the best joy I have is when I go into the special ed classrooms and they, our life skills students or some of our other sped students look at me and they just want to talk about how awesome the announcements were, and they went, go Wolves, And so that's great, but I get to see all of the students. I think that's been just, the biggest surprise would be, wow, this is a cool deal. I like this. So I'm glad I took the position. Thank you, Dr. Mintz.
Yeah, I'm glad you did as well.
We're glad also.
Yeah,
So-
very glad.
So now I'll flip the script a little bit and just ask, so Paul and Kevin, are there things that you would like to see happen to make Desert Mountain even better? Our theme this year is elevating excellence. And what are the things that you envision that could help Desert Mountain elevate excellence?
Well, I guess I would start with, and I'm just going to feed off of what Mr. Andrews was saying. It starts and ends with the students. And when you were talking and when Paul was talking, as NYP coordinator, I think I have the easiest job in the world, because what I do when there's somebody interested in the NYP program, I just will ask a couple of my seniors to join me. And just watching them, how poised they are, and how they can present the program. And they say, well, is there anything I could say? I said, just speak from the heart. And they do. And it reminds me why, like Paul, I can't imagine teaching anywhere else. 3 years ago, I moved to basically an hour's drive southwest of here. And I can't imagine teaching anywhere else. And I think that what we can do is showcase these students more, because I don't think that the community needs to know the amazing things that these students are doing. And I am, like, every single day I will hear a story and my mouth drops. So I think that's one thing we can do.
Thank you.
I would agree. Just to continue to build on IB and to get more kids involved and to finish the IB diploma as seniors. As far as AP, just getting, I think taking an AP class, and like John said, just, you get to pick and choose a little bit more with the AP classes, just to get kids to jump into a more rigorous class, and try it, and instead of, just staying in their, maybe in their little bubble, but just to build up those programs, but definitely showcase, I liked what Kevin said, showcase the IB kids, because they work very hard.
And to go off of what you were saying, they need to. There's so much misinformation about IB. I've heard it's like, I'm not going to take it because I hear there's like 5 hours of homework a night. It's like, there's not. No, that's not true. And so I think to really help people understand that MYP is an opportunity, and that MYP is great training for IB or for AP or for honors, because we have not just great IB teachers, we have great teachers in every single department. So there is, and I tell students all the time, it's like, is it a mistake if I leave the IB program? And I said, that you're even thinking about it, I know you can have a transformational experience anywhere here at Desert Mountain.
Well, Dr. Menzel and I were just talking about the students that will be celebrating at the governing board meeting, and we think about the student who just won for being the best playwright, Desert Mountain High School. Desert Mountain boys swim and dive. They just won their championship. I think about the band going to London for the New Year's Day parade. It is such a well-rounded students, but then additionally the teachers that lead those programs provide those opportunities. IB may be constrictive in the scheduling aspect, but there's still opportunity to be involved in the arts and some of these other things too, correct?
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
And athletics, because I think that's a misnomer too.
IB
that you have
kids are involved in all the different parts of the school, just like other kids are.
And they have jobs, and they're starting their own nonprofits, and it's like anything else. If there's something that's important for you, you make time for it.
Yeah.
And if it's worthwhile, you make time for it.
You've created quite a compelling learning environment at Desert Mountain High School. So much so that when my daughter and her husband were looking where to move and searching out schools even before I have grandkids, they chose Desert Mountain High School as where they wanted my grandchildren to go to high school. So hats off to you. I know we have great options all across Scottsdale Unified, but that's what they chose.
That's great to hear.
It's great.
That's great to hear. I will add too that you can achieve. I told the students today, the class of 2029, that one thing I love about working with high school students is that they come to high school with these dreams that they have, or these interests and these talents, or they're discovering all of that, and then they come to high school and they further that, or we help support them in that growth. And I just say that in the 30 years of excellence that we've had at Desert Mountain, we've had students already go off and achieve their dreams, or find their talents, find their interests, and go out and do that. And I think it gives those students coming in, not only are you joining a school with a legacy of excellence of 30 years, that you're coming to be part of this tradition of Desert Mountain, but you are also you can also see kind of these students have done that. They've gone, like, if your dream is to go to an Ivy League school, we've had students do that. If your dream is to go play football in the NFL, we've done that too. Or go to Hollywood and be a dancer, or a singer, a performer, or just How about be a teacher? We've had students graduate and come back and teach at Desert Mountain. We have several that are doing that. So whatever your dream is and your goals are, I think it's encouraging to students to look at a school and see that students have done that. And they have kind of mentors that they're just a little bit older than them that they can look up to. Those student government leaders that helped when we won the Sterling Award, and they came in, they did a great job hosting those students. I mean, these are students that today, those students that came in that were 8th graders that, were just staring at us, and we were trying to make them feel warm and welcome. I could tell by the end they thought, you know what, maybe I want to be the president of student council, or maybe I want to be in Palm, or maybe I want to be in IB, So that's just something I wanted to make sure to share too, is that whatever your dreams are, you can achieve them from Desert Mountain, because we've had students do that already, and we have a track record of doing that. And we have teachers that have taught here for a long time that are going to continue to mold and shape and help. So they're in good hands.
They're really compelling stories. At the end of every podcast, I like to ask my guests to think about a teacher who's made a difference in your life. I think it's so important to elevate and celebrate the profession. And so I'd like to give you an opportunity to identify someone who's really made a difference for you, whether it's your career path or personally, and give them a shout out today.
I'll start. Mine's easy. I went home to my hometown of Wichita Falls, Texas, and my mom said, "Did you know that your math teacher, or social studies teacher, sorry, she also taught math, but taught me social studies, is living down the street from us, and she's still alive?" And I said, "No way." So Miss Collins is my favorite teacher. I remember her because she had like pinkish, reddish hair. She had the best sense of humor. I was in 6th grade, and I just loved Miss Collins. And so my family and I walked down the street over, I think it was fall break, and knocked on her door.
Cool.
And she said, this is Texas, so she said, "Come on in, you want some Dr. Peppers?" So if you didn't know, in Texas, Dr. Pepper's kind of a big thing. My son was all over that. But Miss Collins, we stayed in and talked to her for an hour. My mom thought we weren't going to come home for dinner, I think, because we were just having such a good time. So Miss Collins, if you're out there, she knows it because I told her it was over fall break. She's my favorite teacher.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Paul?
I would say I had a football coach in high school that really kind of steered me in the direction. He's about coaching and being in education, and kind of talked to me about, I think you'd be really good at that. That would be kind of your niche. And so we've kept in contact over all these years. And actually, when I moved out here 30 years ago, I had him out here. He traveled out here to Arizona to sightsee and visit other people, and I had him over, and we talked about that discussion when I think I was a senior in high school, and thanked him for that. And it is really what I've enjoyed doing, is being a teacher. So it feels good that he kind of pushed me in that area, in that direction. So,
thank you, Paul. Kevin?
I'll have to say, back in Gurnee, Illinois, Mr. Strand, I remember I was a painfully shy freshman, sophomore year, and I joined student council because my brother joined student council, my older, perfect brother. And David, we were very close, so, and he lives here in the Valley. But, and Mr. Strand, he was the student council advisor. He said, "Hey, you should run for office." And I said, "Well, I'm going to run." "No, you should run for state office." And I said, I can't do that. I'm not going to, And he encouraged me, he pushed me. I was the state secretary of the Illinois Association of Student Councils, and it proved to me that I can do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. And I think he was that one person who allowed me, if I can visualize it, if I can see it in my mind, I can do it. So.
Very cool.
And you all are doing the same thing for the next generation of students. So I want to thank you for being our guest today. Thank you for investing in the lives of the students here at Desert Mountain High School. Thank you for being our guest today, and we look forward to continuing to hear great things out of Desert Mountain.
We hope that our listeners enjoyed this episode of Spotlight and will follow us online and pitch us ideas for future episodes at susd.org/spotlight.